And are you finding that partners are, you came from that background of corporate, are being more sophisticated in what they are asking from you as a club? They're wanting that deeper knowledge of your fan base and the deeper knowledge of their potential customers that might be in the para fan base.
I think the word that comes up a lot when we're speaking to prospective partners is relevance. They want to be speaking to people that are relevant to them and their brands. And we've got 800,000 fans, across Australia, and we've done a great job in trying to collect a really large breadth of information about as many of those as possible. But relevance is really important, and relevance doesn't mean speaking to 800,000. Means speaking to people that are relevant and fans that are relevant. And yeah, the more information we have on our fans and the ability for our brands and partners to be able to form a really strong relationship with those that are relevant is something that comes up a lot.
And yeah, and the same from an objective. I mean, I talk about the Spice Girls strategy of asking the partner what they really, really want. Like, is that something that you're always drilling into? Because, like, yes, they might be coming for, the front of jersey and exposure, but like really understanding what your partners want helps you from a deliverable point of view.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And we undertake a piece of work with every partner every year, as we do with our prospective partners as well, where we sit down and we build a partnership framework that ultimately guides all of the activity in season. And that's the opportunity to ask why multiple times, and just to ensure that we're getting really clear on what those requirements are. And it starts with a workshop that ultimately ends with an output of, this is the vision of the partnership. These are the three priority areas. These are the assets that are aligned with those priority areas. This is how we're going to measure success. And we always point everything back, to that. And it also requires you, if you're going to have those conversations on an annual basis, to make sure that the contract has within it a fair degree of flexibility to dial up and dial down things as the partnership evolves as well. And we've been able to get partners on board that look, here's your IP component. That's almost a ticket to the show, and this is how we can use that IP. From an exposure perspective, yep, you've got your high exposure assets, but almost everything else that sits in that benefits bucket, whether it be digital, whether it be tickets, whether it be hospitality, whether it be merchandise, whatever that is, we tend to package that up in a benefits package, provide a rate card, and we kind of say, hey, every year we're going to sit down and we're going to get a really, really clear assessment of what's important for you this year, the next 6 months, the next month, because those things, absolutely change year on year, and they might even change more frequent than that. And, we're obviously open to sitting down and sort of working through that, but having that flexibility built into the agreement that we can dial up and dial down based on the objectives, to your point, and the priorities of the brand, really, really important, particularly when you're entering into large partnerships. I mean, we've had 6-year contracts executed. Our most recent major partnership was a 4, and being really prescriptive around what you're going to do in year 4, quite often 5.5 years out is a real challenge. So building that flex in, and then building that system and rigor that you're workshopping to understand what is important and aligning all your activities around that is something that the guys spend a lot of time on.
And was that a key execution piece of that early strategy work? Because, like, I imagine you came in and you might have had, contracts that were quite rigid and prescriptive and didn't allow for that flexibility and that partnership relationship. Like, it's really hard to go, hey, we want to hit the top of the table commercially when we're locked in, and you're not having, you're not getting that flexibility. So, like, sometimes it does get into the brass tacks of what does legal, what is it in the contract, but having that flexibility both internally but also with your partners must have been something that really, like, started to really open some things up with your partners.
Yeah, one of the key components of that broader commercial strategy was around, well, what are our acquisition disciplines going to be, and what are our retention disciplines going to be, and our strategy and strategic targeting, and ultimately collaborative process of building our partnerships was a key component of that. But we were pretty fortunate at the time. We sort of coming in, and we probably weren't performing as well as we could be, and there were a lot of partners coming off contract, a lot of open assets. So there was, one of the benefits of being in a situation like that is you've got a fairly sort of blank canvas to work with as well. We were fortunate that we were working also with some fairly sophisticated brands that were coming into the program that we hadn't partnered with before. They'd had experience in sport before, and I think they appreciated that both transparent and flexible approach that we were bringing to the table. Yeah, it's probably more internally when you're sort of budgeting the year and planning out your year. you're kind of not quite sure at any point in time for the upcoming season, well, how much merch is that partner going to need? Are they going to dive more into tickets, or are they more playing into that B2B space? Are they going to use corporate hospitality to entertain some of their key clients? Or is employee engagement a really big driver this year, and they see merch as being a really key enabler to that? So from a planning perspective, it just means you've got to create some flex, and you're dialing up and dialing down certain elements of how you're planning about the year ahead. That flexibility for partners and delivering outcomes is certainly more important than simplifying the planning process internally.